CBS News legal analyst Rikki Klieman joins me now. Rikki, really an extraordinary turn of events here. Let me start with this. If the information seized in the raid is related to President Trump, we heard Ron talk about the way in which that determination would be made, whether or not those communications are privileged. What does the law say about whether or not a communication between someone who is an attorney and someone who is a client, when that is actually protected?
Well, that's why we have the law, and it's why we have something called the attorney-client privilege. All communications for legal advice between an attorney and his or her client are privileged. That means nobody else can see them.
All of it.
Except. And the big except is called the crime fraud exception. So if the attorney is also a participant in the crime or fraud, those documents go away and above the privilege, and those documents can be seen. Now, Robert Mueller, as the special counsel, and perhaps if he also went to Rod Rosenstein, they, of course, understand that Michael Cohen is Donald Trump's lawyer, and he's also the lawyer for many other people. So they know that those documents are privileged. However, if they believe that there has been a crime or a fraud and that Michael Cohen and a client have been involved in it, maybe not together, maybe at separate times, but nonetheless the fraud or the crime is around it, then this federal judge will at some point be able to look at these documents and to make the decision as they've come up from the clean team, as Ron so aptly describes, and say, all right, the investigative team, this is what you can see, because it's no longer privileged.
Fascinating. Well, we know that the raid originated with a special counsel, but with a different inquiry. So does this mean that the special counsel has several investigations going on, or is this simply a case of, as the special counsel continued with his work in the course of sort of turning over various rocks, he found something he thought that should in fact be looked at by another team?
Well, I would assume it's the latter. I would assume that Robert Mueller is as thorough as any prosecutor could ever possibly be. And as he's doing his job under his mandate, which, of course, we remember once upon a time ago had to do with collusion with Russia that affected the 2016 elections. So if you come across evidence of another crime or possible crime, you just don't ignore it. You have to do something with it. And in this case, Special Counsel Robert Mueller referred the case up north to the Southern District of New York, which is in Manhattan, and the FBI went out and conducted this raid.
Well, the New York Times reports some of what was seized could relate to payments made to the adult film star Stormy Daniels. Why would that be of interest?
Well, I think that would be of primary interest, along with possible campaign violations, along with possible tax issues. But certainly Stormy Daniels, which is the most publicized non-disclosure agreement of all time. I think I can say that without fear of contradiction.
I think you're correct.
That what you have is Michael Cohen saying, I paid the money to Stormy Daniels, and by my paying the money, I did this out of the goodness of my heart. Mr. Trump had nothing to do about it. It was Mr. Trump at the time. He had nothing to do with it. He didn't repay me. He didn't know about it. So at that point, if there's hush money that is to silence someone before the election, which has not been proven, but it's still out there, well, then, of course, the special counsel would want to know, was this a campaign violation? Was this ultimately an inappropriate payment? But it's outside of Mueller's purview, so it comes up here. By the way, the person who has to be most concerned about this at this second is Michael Cohen. Michael Cohen could be in jeopardy not only for this, he could be in jeopardy for many things, and he's certainly in jeopardy for possibly losing his license to practice law.
Much more to come, no doubt. Rikki Klieman, thanks so much for your analysis. Really appreciate it.